What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 23 of the Culture 316 podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jordan Nahisi.
And your co-host, Mo. What is up, people?
It's the last episode of the year. Can you believe it? It's crazy how time flies when you're just slaving to capitalism. But anywho, y'all know what to do. Subscribe, like, comment. If you were watching this video, if you're listening or streaming through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc., be sure to give the show a 5 stars. Just a little precursor / warning. We're experiencing little technical difficulties over here at Culture. So if the show looks a little different than normal, pardon our appearance, but we will be back to full strength around the time of the new year. So yeah, that's a thing. But we are going to get this show started with the latest news that has been setting the wrestling world on fire. So last night, after Dragon Lee and his partner captured the AAA World Tag Team Championships from FTR, it was announced that Dragon Lee has been signed to WWE NXT, which I think is a very, very interesting move, considering that they just won the AAA tag team titles. Just based off the first impression of this news, I wanted to know what your impressions were and what do you think this means to the wrestling landscape as far as Dragon Lee being picked up and signed?
I'll be honest, I don't know too much about this guy, but I did see it trending on Twitter, and now I see why people were making it a big deal, because you were just against FTR, and a lot of people would think that you would go straight to AEW, but they publicly announced that they're going to NXT. Do you think that was coerced? Do you think that they were told to do that on purpose to be petty? Because I saw that as a little bit of a dialogue on Twitter today.
I don't know. I don't know, to be honest, if it was meant to be petty or if it was just an opportunity to, kind of do their thing or go about it per usual. Mm-hmm. However, I do think it's an interesting move, but I did want you to finish up though, because I felt like you had something that you wanted to.
No,
to say.
I mean, I tried watching little clips about it. I thought it was just interesting, just because I saw a lot of people going back and forth on it, because some people are in the belief that the promotions are all working with each other because there's been a lot of forbidden doors that have been broken down throughout the year. Mm-hmm. And there a lot of questions have been about, is WWE in on it? So it's kind of interesting that they would go do a match with FTR and then segue straight into NXT and then make that announcement. I, for some reason, think that all the promotions are in bed with one another every time I see shit like this, but they don't want to admit it because it keeps the ratings going. What do you think?
I actually concur, but for starters, I think Hunter is cooking right now because, I believe Dragon Lee just won that. Well, obviously they just won those championships. There hasn't been any news of them being stripped of the championships anytime soon, which means that, is Dragon Lee going to be an active competitor in NXT and AAA? And then now that begs the question, does WWE NXT have a working relationship with AAA? And do you think that that's going to have some type of ramifications as it pertains to NXT Mexico, as we were talking about, a couple of months back?
Yeah.
So I think that it's a very, very interesting move. Like you said, all the promotions are kind of, I think, working together because for all intents and purposes, AAA was a part of the conglomerate, as I like to say. Essentially, AEW has partnerships with Impact, partnerships with AAA. Obviously, they own Ring of Honor. And so, Tony kind of has his hand in 4 different wrestling companies, most notably AEW and Ring of Honor. But through the partnerships, he has his hand in a lot of other stuff, a lot of other things. So I do think that it's very, very interesting. But man, Hunter is cooking right now. And I think that this may lead to more deals in which it allows wrestlers from other promotions that are prominent in their respective countries to work with NXT, similar to how AEW works with other promotions and other companies. So I think that it's something to kind of keep an eye out on as far as, Dragon Lee signing. But man, him being signed to NXT opens up so many doors, opens up so many possibilities of cross-branding, cross-promotion, and just the stuff that he can do in NXT. I really want to see Dragon Lee versus Carmelo Hayes. I think that that's going to be something worth watching, something worth waiting for. Dragon Lee versus Axiom. Now with main roster guys coming back down to NXT here and there, I wouldn't be completely shocked to see a Dragon Lee versus Ricochet match. You know what I'm saying? That's something to keep an eye out for. But I just think that it's a very, very interesting move, and it just shows that 2022 has just been a very, very interesting year in wrestling. I was going to ask if you wanted to build on top of that. Did you have anything else to say, or we can move on?
No, we can move on.
Solid. Well, we want to hear what y'all are thinking as far as how do you feel about this move pertaining to Dragon Lee moving to NXT. But we're going to go from there, because speaking of wrestling promotions and speaking of NXT, an NXT commentator, Booker T, went on his podcast, and he was talking about the AEW fans, and he even referred to them as a cult. Do you believe that All Elite Wrestling fans are a cult, or no?
Yes and no, but you could argue that about WWE fans. You kind of can't help but to, I guess, in this day and age, because people like to be part of something. They like to be part of a category. And I think when it comes to like AEW, I mean, yeah, that you do have to have like an acquired taste to like that promotion. Obviously, the people that like AEW tend to pay attention to other promotions, the indie stuff. They like to pay attention a lot to the wrestling. And I do notice when I go on like Facebook or I go on Twitter, and you try to like make any type of like appreciation post towards something that Hunter did, for example, for some reason, like there's like these drones from AEW that just come flying in. And they just want to just like drop missiles and just like stop your whole entire post out, because they're just like, well, he didn't do this, or it's better over here because TK did this, or WWE has done this in the past. And it's just like, I feel like both companies have redeemable qualities, and I feel like they also have extremely shitty qualities, but that's any company that you go for. But there's going to be diehards wherever you go. Do I think that every person that's an AEW fan is, part of the cult? No, but do I think that there's people who are just like, they make me cringe as a wrestling fan, because they don't know how to go about liking just one promotion and just kind of keeping it cool. Like, they like AEW and they respect that you may like, WWE, or you may like a different promotion outside of it. Cult is such a strong word, though. I don't know, but I go ahead and say cult, but because again, there are WWE diehards who just refuse to like tune into anything that's not WWE, and they'll die on that hill. I think we had that experience in our spaces before.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I forgot what was that gentleman's name, but like we had a whole dispute about 3 spaces ago where some guy went in about like why WWE is the most superior promotion.
I remember that.
Yeah, and it got very chaotic. It got very intense. That would be the perfect time if we had that whole
clip. Oh my God.
Like that would be the perfect thing for this subject, because that's what it looks like when it gets to cult territory.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to say just AEW. I feel like it's arguable that there's WWE cult fans. And then you have fans that like everything. They're just here for wrestling. And you have the casuals. They pop in when they want to pop in. But do you think that, there's AEW cult fans?
I don't think that there's AEW cult fans. However, I do feel like the pattern is that there's a good amount of fans outside of WWE that seem to be oddly passionate about things that are not WWE. I'll give you an example. There was one time Nora, I, and Angie went to this New Japan Ring of Honor Supercard WrestleMania weekend when it was in New York, and we were chilling, and New Japan was airing a package, and they were like, New Japan Pro Wrestling, the largest pro wrestling company in the world. And then there was like a guy behind us that was like, yeah, WWE. And it was just like, we weren't even talking about them. Like we weren't even like, nobody said anything about WWE. Mm-hmm. But I feel like there is a segment of the population that's just like so anti WWE that it's just odd. Like I tend to be very, very critical of the on-screen product of any company, but to say that there's nothing going on that's good in WWE is just weird because there are good things in WWE, just like there's good things in AEW and good things in Impact and good things in New Japan. But I feel like the challenge here is that, and this is part of the reason why I believe that All Elite Wrestling has rose to prominence, is because since WWE has had a commitment to a PG product, there's a segment of the audience that felt ostracized. There's a segment of the audience that felt left out, that felt unheard. And All Elite Wrestling, with their on-screen product, championed for those people. You know what I'm saying? It's very, very similar. And I mean, it's not the same because it's two different worlds and social climates and context. It's very similar to the rise of Trump. Right? How Trump kind of came up, and while he was bugging out, it was like he was championing for people that felt unheard or left out or overlooked. And because he was able to tap into that audience, he was able to gain an abnormal amount of support than we had expected. It's the same thing with AEW, in my opinion. I feel like there are people who are passionate about AEW. I think sometimes it can get a little bit weird, a little bit odd. Just like I feel like there's some people that I feel like are a little bit too oddly passionate about WWE to the point where they don't try to critique the product or act as if anything is right about it or act if anything is wrong. And I think that that's wrong. But to say that it's a cult, no, not necessarily. I wouldn't say that it's a cult. But that's just my opinion on it. So
I agree with that. I actually like that point a lot. But you know what's the weirdest thing about AEW fans? It's just that, like, you wouldn't like wrestling if it wasn't for WWE. So it's just odd to me when they go out of their way to shit on it. Because, like, again, there's a lot of things that are wrong. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's still a work in progress. I think every company is a work in progress. But what pisses me off is that something that WWE will do, sometimes AEW will do, and they'll shit on it if WWE does it, but if AEW does it, they for some reason will praise it and make some weird exception and try to like build it out to be something super elaborate. And it's like, no, it's kind of like a WWE 101 formula that they just used. And you don't like it when Vince or Triple H does it, but when they do it over here, it's like, oh my gosh, Tony Khan's a fucking like master. Oh my God, that was so funny. That was so quirky. It's just like, shut up. Like, shut up. Like, they irritate me. Like, sometimes I have to get off that side of Twitter and just give myself some time to breathe because I can't with the whole back and forth. Because at the end of the day, I'm just a fan of wrestling. I'm just a fan of pro wrestling. You know, if it's good, it's good. If it sucks, it sucks. And that goes for even if it's my favorite or not. I don't care. Like, whoever's in the seat, if they're doing a good job, I'm going to praise it. If they're not doing a good job, I'm going to shit all over it. I just want to see the product be good. I want to be entertained. That's it.
I feel like that's a great place to end on that note. So we want to know from y'all, how do y'all feel about AEW fans? Do you believe that Booker was right as far as AEW fans being a cult or not? Let us know in the comments. But moving on, and speaking of AEW, but I just got to make sure. Speaking of AEW, Kenny Omega had some very harsh words for New Japan Pro Wrestling as it pertains, to a recent interview in light of promoting his match with Will Ospreay at Wrestle Kingdom 17. We all know it's going to be for the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship. He said that he looked at the promotion, his former promotion, as the child that he was ashamed of. And it was brutal. I was like, oh, that's hard. But, some would like to argue, and some can jump on this point, that when the Elite left New Japan Pro Wrestling, that New Japan, and their popularity and their momentum slowed down. So I wanted to ask you, did New Japan fall off when the Elite went to AEW?
Okay, well, I wasn't a person that steadily watched New Japan, so I can't comment on that. I don't think that's my place. But to focus more so on Kenny taking a promotion that he basically built his name on, his brand on, and then to shame it, I think it's insane. Just considering that, again, you made yourself in this company. We wouldn't love and appreciate you as a talent and as a wrestler without that platform and how you guys, built yourselves up over there. And me personally, it's not that I dislike Kenny Omega. I still like him, but I do feel like him and the Elite in AEW are not as interesting as what I've seen in New Japan. So it's very strange to me that essentially the area where he peaked in, he's shaming the company, saying that, oh, well, it peaked and then it stopped peaking when I left. And now it's the shit. And it's just like, technically you, sir, you also peaked over there. You're not the top guy even over at a company that you were like an EVP at. I'm just saying, like, don't get me wrong, are they placed on the cards frequently? Yes, but like that's not prime Kenny Omega. And I know a lot of Kenny Omega fans that will even agree with this, saying just like, I want New Japan Kenny Omega. You know, I want the Young Bucks from New Japan. And it's just like, to me, it's just odd. Like, it kind of almost comes off like you're biting the hand that fed you, because they gave you a platform to make you who you are today, to make you the big name, the big face, the reason why you were scooped up and brought to AEW, and why Tony Khan selected you. So I just think that to me is just weird, and I don't appreciate when anyone does that from any promotion or any brand, even if it's outside wrestling. I think that's just so weird. You know, and plus promotions in general has its ups and downs. WWE has its ups and downs. AEW had its ups and downs. And I think that he's going to definitely regret what he's saying, because like New Japan is kind of like in this whole reconstruction era where they're going to be testing and pulling a lot of different strings, and doing things that we haven't seen before. So I feel like he's definitely going to eat his words, definitely by this year. And I feel like when Wrestle Kingdom, I think, is coming up soon, right? January.
Yeah.
I feel like as soon as like Wrestle Kingdom happens, I'm expecting nothing but huge things to happen, and we're gonna get into that later on. Like, I feel like he's gonna eat his words. He's definitely gonna eat his words. Like, I feel like 2023 is going to be their year. I personally think so. It's going to be their year. So again, that's an insane, especially now with all the news that's coming out about New Japan. That's insane to just say. But what do you think about his comments and all that?
So first off, I think it was kayfabe. I don't think that it was something that he necessarily meant. I think that his disappointment is more so in Will Ospreay, I guess, in this particular case, since that's who he's having his match against. And I feel like because he was trying to put Will in a position where Will would fill his shoes in his spot, and, you know, there have been so many different contributing factors as to why New Japan didn't sustain the momentum that it did. I think that because of that, that is this kind of the source of his disappointment, in which I understand. As far as the comments were concerned, if that were me, I wouldn't make those comments, because like you said, you shouldn't bite the hand that used to feed you. Simultaneously, if we look at the Elite and their popularity and what they've been able to accomplish outside of New Japan, it was like everything that at least the audience in the States was following the Elite over. They just were able to take their fans and move it to AEW. They lost a significant amount of momentum, and that's not saying that New Japan isn't a great company or an organization, or that, you know, Omega and the Bucks didn't solidify a name there. But this is more so about brand value. This is more so about the power of the Kenny Omega brand, the power of the brand of the Elite, because the stuff that they were doing, right? Like they were doing the Being the Elite vlogs, and Kenny was having these banger 5-star matches with Okada, and the Bucks were having these great tag team matches and these great storyline feuds, even before, you know, the AEW, the whole, you know, Cody and one of the Jackson brothers versus Kenny and the other Jackson brother. Like it was good storytelling. They had the creative control, and because of that, they were able to do some amazing things in those companies, to the point where people understood, oh, that's Kenny, that's the Bucks, that's Cody, that's the reason why this product is good, is because of these people. And so when those people left, the momentum, I think, followed them. And that's the reason why I think that AEW had such a big reception at first, was because they were able to kind of take their fans from one area to another area. They're very, very similar to Sasha Banks in that area, right? How Sasha has her fans. The Elite have their fans. And not for anything, the Elite were carriers of New Japan Pro Wrestling's most valuable intellectual property in the Bullet Club. Like, when we think of the Bullet Club, we're thinking Finn Balor, we're thinking AJ Styles, and we're thinking the Elite, which is Kenny Omega, Young Bucks, Cody Rhodes, Hangman Adam Page, We can include Gallows and Anderson in there. But when we think of the Bullet Club, mind you, there was a point in time, Finn was in WWE. AJ was in WWE. Who was holding Bullet Club down? The Elite. So they were the ones that were pushing and selling the merch. They were the ones that were, putting their names out there and building the momentum for their personal brand and their collective brand. So while I wouldn't have made the comments that Kenny Omega made, I understand. Because when we talk about a carry, nobody was carrying New Japan and nobody was carrying the Bullet Club the way that the Elite was. And I think that a large amount of momentum went with them into All Elite Wrestling. And because of that, plus the pandemic, New Japan fell off. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just how I feel about that.
Do you think Will Ospreay's doing a good job though?
Will Ospreay's doing the best job that he can. And that's not a disrespect on him, because Will Ospreay has had to face things that Kenny Omega didn't. Will Ospreay had to, obviously with his injuries, with the titles being consolidated, with the pandemic, these were things that Kenny Omega didn't have to worry about.
Oh, and the speaking out movement. He got slapped with that too.
Yeah, that too. Didn't have that's a whole other thing within itself, right? But like Will Ospreay had to deal with things that Kenny Omega didn't have to. Kenny Omega walked into a system that was already perfected and refined and had structure, and he was able to thrive because he didn't have to worry about things changing at such a rapid point. He could be the greatest IWGP or one of the greatest IWGP Intercontinental Champions of all time and then step up and be the heavyweight champion. There was a story and a structure already there, but when Will was stepping into his prime, we're going to consolidate the Intercontinental and the heavyweight titles. And that makes a big difference. Then they were like, okay, now you're going to have to go up against Coda. And it's like, okay, go up against Coda. And then you get injured. And it's like, that interrupts the storyline. So he had to deal with things that Kenny didn't. And I think that Will is doing the best job that he can. I feel like in a world where there's no pandemic and there's no title consolidations, I feel like Will Ospreay probably could have been just as big, if not bigger than Kenny Omega, because he has it. He has the athletic ability, the promo skills on the mic. He has a lot of charisma. He's a good leader. And I honestly think United Empire is currently better than the Bullet Club. Like,
that's a bold statement.
That's a bold statement, but it's facts. Like, Bullet Club is cool, but it's not what it was when it first started. And I think that's just like a natural evolution of things. But yeah, when we look at the way United Empire is going right now and the titles that they've been able to capture and the people that they have on the team, like, I like it. I like it a lot. And I think that they're a lot better and they have a lot more momentum than Bullet Club because they're fresher and they're newer. So that's just my take on it.
Fair enough.
But we're gonna move on because we have another AEW topic. So it looks like All Elite Wrestling is getting into the live event business. According to JR on his podcast, Grilling with JR, he believes that AEW will be getting into house shows and believes that is a big reason as to why Jeff Jarrett was hired. Do you believe that AEW should be doing house shows?
Yeah, I think house shows would be fun. I definitely take the house shows over the shit that they're doing on YouTube. No, I just think that to me is so pointless and it's a bit of a slap in the face. I much rather them just go ahead and just do house shows and go around different places if they will. But the only thing that sucks about the house shows is that that's taxing onto, people because they have to travel more. They have less days home with their family. But what I like about house shows is that it gives other wrestlers that don't have much of a chance to like get any like TV time or get out there and work. It gives them something to do and work with like fans and stuff like that. I know that with AEW, like that you could go to other promotions and like they have connections with other people, but I feel like house shows are nice just if you want to play around with other wrestlers that you haven't really utilized yet, and then maybe if the crowd takes them, maybe you could like put together a few ideas, be inspired by that person, and be like, all right, maybe that could be our next person we're going to use. So I like house shows for that. And house shows is typically where I see wrestlers have the most fun because they're completely going off script or they're making up their own little storylines on the fly and just doing goofy stuff and just really interacting with the fans. and stuff like that and giving them a whole new experience. So I personally like the idea of house shows, but I could see the argument of how it would be more exhausting and unnecessary to do it. Do you think house shows are necessary?
I don't think that house shows are necessary, and I think that AEW needs to be careful, because one of the things that made AEW attractive to so many either new, fresh indie talents, potential homegrown talents, and former WWE talents is that this was, this was AEW. You only got to work once or twice a week, and you have all this time to do all these other things. So it's like if they go into house shows and they produce a WWE-like schedule, that means that cats got to start getting paid more. That means, okay, now we got to renegotiate this contract. Like, because I'm not going to get paid 100, 125, 150 grand a year, and I'm doing 300 days a year. Like, something's got to change. You know what I mean? So I think that they need to be careful and they need to tread very, very lightly. I also don't know. I don't think it's necessary. I feel like Tony had the right idea at the beginning of the company, which was to just focus on media and television rights and to use Universal as like his, place where he could just pump out a bunch of content. I think that's the best way to go. Maybe I'm wrong because I'm not on the inside, but I just feel like, why would you? To me, it's not about the house shows. It's about adding something that makes bringing on new talent less attractive. You know what I'm saying?
My only thing is just that, like, they don't have a lot of pay-per-views throughout the year, which that's fine. That's good by me, just because to me it's not so much quantity over quality. But I just feel like, again, they have a very bloated roster of people that they don't use. So I just think that it's just good to give those people something to do and play with. Because there's people that have been signed that's literally been sitting in the back and we haven't seen in like months, possibly years. So I'm just thinking about those people. But for like the remainder of the show, do they need it? Not really. But it'd be nice just for them. I mean, but some people are fine with just collecting a really nice paycheck and having many days off and not doing Jack Dilly shit. So it could be that.
That's a point. And that's a fact. But yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah, I'm gonna end that on that point. I want to know what everybody else thinks about AEW's adding house shows to their business portfolio. But speaking of house shows, WWE made its yearly or bi-yearly trip to Madison Square Garden day after Christmas, December 26th, and the internet was a little bit upset. The interwebs, the Twitter, the people on the Blue app was a little bit tight, a little bit angry, because while WWE was having a house show chock full of matches, Raw was airing a best of 2022 episode, which drew, I believe, a year low in ratings. But a couple people on the internet were just saying that they should televise whenever they do WWE at MSG. My question to you is, I don't think that televising all house shows are necessarily important or necessary, but I wanted to know, do you believe that WWE should start airing their house shows at MSG?
My question is, why would there be a house show in MSG to begin with? Like, that's so weird to me. It's just like a prolific and like historic area. Why would you make that into a house show? You want to do it with the Barclays, I guess, because we've seen them in the Barclays 1,000,002,000 times, but MSG, like, there's so many like amazing things that went down in MSG. Why would you put that as a house show and then not even show us that for like the Christmas weekend, or not Christmas weekend, Christmas week? To me, that was just odd. Like, it's just, why would you do that? And I know that there was many wrestlers that were proud of themselves to be able to be booked for that. So the fact that we don't see it, it's just kind of, I don't know, it's an eyebrow raiser. It's like, why would you not want to? Like, is it not important to you? What do you think?
Personally, I have the opposite mindset. I don't think that WWE should be showing shows from MSG unless it's like a Raw or like a pay-per-view. They shouldn't be doing shows at MSG. They shouldn't be broadcasting house shows. Now, the reason why I'm a firm believer in house shows at MSG is because, like you said, there's so many moments that happened at house shows at MSG. The curtain call happened at a house show at MSG. You know what I mean? Like, and then not to include all the other fun matches. Now, the reason why I say certain things shouldn't be broadcasted is because there's just certain things that should just be exclusive to the people who make it. If it's for everybody, it's not going to be as valued. But when we talk about the exclusivity of it, what makes moments special is when you're able to pop up and say, I was there. I saw this and none of y'all saw it. Oh, man. And on top of that, you got to think about it like this. There was a one point where the live event business, well, I believe, was like 25 or 33% of WWE's quarterly revenue. So the idea for TV is to promote the live events. So the idea is so that if you're creating these very, very special experiences and you're going to these experiences, what's going to happen? You're going to say it's you and me, right? Say I go, you don't go. And you're like, yo, I really wish I could go, but I can't. Da, 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 da. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go. I go to WWE MSG. I come back. Yo, that show was crazy. So it was just the same stuff on Raw. Nah. They had stuff on there that you would only see at a house show. Oh, man, I'm tight. Now I got to go to the next house show that happens at MSG because the last time I missed out on it. So now by the word of mouth that I'm giving, I'm promoting the next house show for WWE. You know what I mean? I think that that's the logic behind it. I don't think that everything is for everybody. I don't think that everything is meant to be broadcasted. Sometimes things are just supposed to be, just for the people that are in attendance. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not just exclusive to the MSG house shows. Like, when they go to Europe, the matches that they be having at their house shows are mind-boggling. Like, I remember, and even outside of the stuff in Europe, like they had a house match, Gunther versus AJ Styles for the Intercontinental title. That's insane. But you want to make an experience for the people who go there. And that's part of the reason why, you go there. If it was just available online and you could just watch it in full, it's like, why would I go?
But that's the thing about house shows that I think makes people like not care. It's kind of like watching a TV series, or like how some people watch animes, but there's like certain like episodes that are throwaway episodes. So like they don't pertain to the actual storyline. So like there's no urgency to buy a house show ticket because it's just like it's not going in chronological order to what I should be paying attention to the main plot.
Makes sense.
It's just like I'm just seeing cool matches. I'm just seeing fun moments, but it's just to have a fun time. I think like the people that watch WWE, they're so used to like the formula of watching to see progression. So it's like if I buy a house show ticket, I'm not supposed to really take this seriously. I'm just watching just to watch and just have fun, but it's not going to contribute to anything. So why should I care? But I'm not shitting on house shows. I'm just like talking about the programming of me being a WWE fan, because they could get away with this shit in AEW, which is why I encourage it over there. They could get away with that because the people who watch AEW shows, like people like me, I'll go to a House of Glory event and go watch something knowing damn well it's not going to contribute to a damn thing that's going on over there. But I know, like, my brain's programmed to think that when it comes to watching AEW, I'm here just like for the fun and seeing like dream matches that I'd never seen before. Right. I don't think people think that way with WWE. That's the only thing that that's why I just find it odd. And I think that's just odd to just not show something with Madison Square Garden. It was cool back then, like when you mentioned the curtain call, that was a lovely example, because back then we didn't have the internet and stuff. So of course there was an urgency to go to a house show. Like if you were really, really a diehard Shawn Michaels fan, you couldn't like sit there and like find all his matches like we can now. We could look up all the fucking matches we want to on YouTube or go on Twitter or go on Daily Motion or whatnot. We could find it anywhere, Yo,
I used to be on Daily Motion heavy before the days of the network.
Yeah, word. Before I found out, like the streaming apps or the streaming websites, you know what I mean? Right. But like back then you couldn't do that. If you were a diehard Shawn Michaels fan, you made sure like, oh shit, like they're coming to my area. Like, let me go just to see if like, my boy's going to be out there. And then you just cared just because I just feel like the fans aren't programmed that way, but I do respect and see your side of it. So I don't know. I feel bad for them.
This is this is a good discussion. I think it needs a little bit more nuance. I'm going to end it on your note because
Sure.
those are fantastic points. But we want to know what you guys feel. Do you believe that WWE should be airing anytime they do a house show at MSG or just other very, very special house shows? But moving on. So, speaking of important shows, WWE's first premium live event of the year is upon us, which is the Royal Rumble, which is scheduled for the end of January, but this time around is being presented with a twist. It seems like WWE is collaborating with Mountain Dew to present the Pitch Black match, a match where anything goes. It's been teased along with some very, very Bray Wyatt-esque elements to it in the teasers and in the promo. So one can assume that he would be a part of that match. Wanted to know how eager you were about this match. Do you have any expectations? What are your impressions? Your first impressions? I would ask.
For the black match, the
pitch black match. Got to say,
jeez, I just have no idea. Like, I have no idea what they're doing with this. I still don't understand what's going on.
Right.
Like, a pitch black match. Like, what does that even mean? Is that like their way of like having what AEW does when they have like a lights out match or something? And
I have no idea.
Like, it's I don't know how to comment on it because like, what the fuck is a pitch black match? Like, is it going to be the shit that they tried to do with, like, The Fiend when they had, like, the dark-ass red light and they had him and Seth Rollins fighting and we were fighting for our life trying to watch the match? Like, what is a pitch black match? I'm laughing because, like, what the fuck? At the Royal Rumble, too, that's just a weird, like, pairing to have, a name like that. What do you think that would mean? Do you have an idea?
So, number one, money talks. If a company is collaborating with a wrestling company on a match, it's for promotional use. It's for exposure. It's for the product. It's for paid placement, essentially, and finding ways to have innovative ways of placing a company or corporation like Mountain Dew in a match. I think this is a good time, a good opportunity for it, because it's a big four, and obviously nobody knows what it means. So people are more intrigued to watch it. Now, as it pertains to what I think is going to happen during that match or what it's gonna involve, based on what I'm seeing, Bray Wyatt's gonna be involved. Based on what I'm seeing, wouldn't be surprised if it's a cinematic match. Wouldn't be surprised if it's like an Undertaker-esque kind of thing that he did with AJ Styles, the Boneyard match.
Cinematic is the way to go.
Cinematic is the way to go. I mean, if they're doing a pitch black match, it's going to be heavily stylized. They should make it a cinematic match.
Do you enjoy cinematic matches with WWE?
Well, both of the cinematic matches that stood out to me were the Bray Wyatt John Cena match. That was crazy, and the Boneyard match. That was crazy. So anytime WWE has done these pre-produced matches, even the one that they just did with Mandy Rose Alba Fire at Halloween Havoc, that was tough too. So like all the cinematic matches that they've done have been very, very interesting. So I feel like if you're trying to make something like this, something that's new, something that's unfamiliar, if you want to make it a home run, if you do a cinematic match, a pre-produced match, it's going to eliminate a lot of the potential negative feedback from the crowd. And I think that it's just a great, strategic way to go about this, is because, you could just run it. You know what I mean? You got to worry about.
So good at acting.
Exactly.
It'd be so fun.
So I think that this should be a cinematic match. I'm very eager to see what this is going to become, but we want to know what you guys think about this potential pitch black match. So with 2023 on the horizon, we figured that we would give some bold predictions. So before we end the show, I wanted to know your 3 bold predictions for 2023.
I think we should go one at a time with each other.
I'm down.
I still think that CM Punk is going to show up in WWE. I know, and I feel like it just makes the most sense because I feel like now that it's been so much time with AEW, and they keep doing like this sidetrack thing where I think I saw an article come out where I think FTR was trying to like, you know, like butter him up and like talk about how great he was backstage and stuff like that. And they're trying to confuse us over here with AEW on, you know, was Punk really a shitty person as we think that he is or not? I personally think that Tony Khan doesn't see as much money in him as there was before. But no matter how long it's been, that man will always be money if he goes back to WWE, no matter how long it's been, just because of the controversy. And I think that Triple H is insane enough to actually sign him over there. And he could have that flip. He could come in as a heel, as an ultimate heel if he really wants to. But he could switch and become like the ultimate babyface if he also wanted to. And I just feel like that'd be kind of like awesome and kind of like a nice little closing to kind of patch things up with them. And he could kind of end up getting what he wanted. So yeah, that's my first bold ass prediction. I do see a Punk and Cody feud coming up at some point.
So as for me, my first my prediction is that it's going to be seen as a comparable promotion to WWE by the end of this year, because I do believe that CM Punk is going to be back in AEW. There was like a post where, like, you know, I think like Dax posted something along the lines of like, you know, regardless of our differences, we should try to make it work. You know, regardless of the differences between the Elite and FTR and CM Punk, they should just try to make it work. And CM Punk said, duh. I don't think, while I do believe that a return to WWE is always possible, I do believe that CM Punk has unfinished business in AEW. And I believe that he would at least do something to kind of clean up the reputation that he had in AEW before he would go to WWE. And I just also think that while Punk may not be, you know, the fondest of Tony Khan, I do believe, of the fondest of the Elite, I think that him and Tony Khan still have a really good relationship. You got to understand, that man owns his entire Ring of Honor catalog. So it's like, you got to be friends with either the devil that you like or the devil that you don't like. And I feel like out of the two, he's going to choose his more favorable one. So that's that. But what's your second prediction for 2023?
This one's a little messy because I love Sasha Banks so much, but I've been pondering to myself that if she goes somewhere else, that it's going to be like a lot of hype in the beginning and then might die out really quickly because fans are not used to the format. And that's like a really big irrational fear that I have for her. I feel like regardless where she goes, she's going to shine. Don't get me wrong. But I'm scared that she's going to like not fade into the back, but just because she's the first woman to ever do this shit. To be such a big ass name and then to take a risk, leave like one of the biggest fucking companies in the world, and then jump to a whole other promotion. So I'm wondering if it's going to be like hype in numbers in the beginning and then it might fizzle out for her. Not that I hope that for her. I really just, it's just like an irrational fear that I have, but that's like you said, a bold prediction. So I'm like, what if that happens? More like a what if, not prediction, but a what if. What do you think about that?
So I actually, the fact that these line up perfectly, my second prediction was that New Japan was going to, they were going to pick up momentum through the acquisition of Mercedes Renato, aka Sasha Banks. Reason being, I just believe that when you have a star that big, and if you immediately insert her into the main event, your company is going to get attention. Your company is going to get traction. And I believe that where the Elite kind of left off when they went to AEW, I think Mercedes is going to pick the banner back up, and she's going to make New Japan must-see TV again, because I feel like they already have new talent, but I feel like it's one of those products that's unequally yoked where some divisions have more attention than others. I believe that they have solid tag teams. I believe they have great main event talent. They have Jay White, for God's sakes. They have main event talent, but they don't have that extra kick that's going to really send them over the top. And I believe that Mercedes can be that person that sends them over the top. So that's my second prediction. What about your third?
This one kind of like is going to go right into our next segment after this, but I'm just going to mention it right now. I do think that like Wrestle Kingdom out of all the promotions for the entire year is going to be like the biggest one between like WrestleMania, between Wrestle Kingdom, and for AEW, their WrestleMania is basically Double or Nothing, essentially, or All Out. Depends on which way you look at it. I say it's Double or Nothing. I feel like it's going to be Wrestle Kingdom this year for a lot of reasons. I thought they're going to have the biggest spike in numbers that they had in years, because they're going to pull in a lot of WWE fans, but I also expect a lot of stops to be pulled out. And I feel like as a result of this, being that we have Hunter in charge, I feel like I expect to see a lot more collaborations between New Japan and WWE. And again, I know it goes back into the whole idea that I think that they're all in bed with one another. I feel like they're going to be a promotion that AEW and that WWE are going to be fighting over. I mean, of course he wants Sasha back. They're gonna always want Sasha back, but I feel like there's going to be like a war between these two. Not even like with each other, but like who can get a hold of like doing like getting contracts saying like you can't work with any other promotion or nothing.
Right.
You know, you either work with us or the competitor. I feel like there's going to be heat with that because of how good Wrestle Kingdom is going to be with the controversy and all the elements that's been surrounding leading up to it. What do you think?
So I think that's a very, very interesting point. My third bold prediction had nothing to do with Wrestle Kingdom. It had everything to do with WWE. It has everything to do with the Bloodline. I believe they're breaking up in 2023. I think the Bloodline is going to break up in 2023. I think we're going to see everyone lose their titles. And once everyone loses their titles, I believe that everyone is going to go about their different directions. I believe that they're going to turn on Sammy.
Oh, it's time.
Sammy and KO are going to win the tag titles. Cody's going to win the WWE title. I believe that after that happens, I just believe that they're just going to break down from within, and they're all going to disperse and go into their separate separate directions, because as they've had a great run, they have had a phenomenal Hall of Fame worthy all-timer run. But it's time. It's time to break it apart. It's time to blow it up.
Yeah, but what happens to Roman?
I think this is what's going to lead to Roman versus The Rock. Because it's like once everything is kind of fallen by the wayside, it's like Rock is going to come back. And I think Rock is just going to be on some like, so who's the tribal chief? Like, because you can't even keep the family together.
Oh,
like you can't even the reason why I was out here and you was in here was because you were supposed to hold it down. You didn't hold it down. So now I got to deal with you. So I think that's something that could potentially occur.
I'm sure better be writing all of this down.
Everybody better, because this is good. This is good-ish. Anyway, so after the wrestlers, so after like all of this, I wanted to know 4 different things. Who is your male wrestler to watch in 2023? Your women's wrestler to watch in 2023? Your event to watch in 2023? And your promotion to watch in 2023? You go first on all yours, and then I'll go.
Gee, a male to watch in 2023. Because you know what? I still have an emotional attachment to Ricky Starks. So I'm going to go with Ricky Starks. I feel like he's going to be a big star. How about you?
So I'm going to go with Solo Sikoa. I think that Solo, if the Bloodline breaks up, and I think that they will, Solo's going to go on a huge run. I think that championship gold is in his future. And I just think that he's got it. He's got everything that you need in a talent. He obviously carries that Samoan lineage, connected to one of the biggest bloodlines, no pun intended, in WWE history. And the guy is just fast and strong, and he has the look. Like, I think that his Solo is going to be a breakout star in 2023.
You're the only Solo Sikoa fan I know. Like, it's not me shaming him. I know no one else that talks about him the way you talk about this man.
I like him. But who do you think is going to be your women's wrestler to watch in 2023?
I mean, outside of the obvious with Sasha, someone who interests me, I really like Willow. I don't know why, but for some reason I really like her. And I feel like they're warming her up. They're still warming her up to be in an important position. But I want to go with Willow for AEW, and then for WWE, I have to think about this one real quick. I don't want to say nothing stupid here. No, I don't. I really like Jakara for some weird reason.
That was my pick.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Jakara was my. I only had one, and it was her because I watched her on NXT Level Up. She's smooth.
Yeah,
she's smooth, and she got the look.
Yeah,
like I feel like she's gonna be that girl in 2023 for sure.
They need some flavor in the roster, considering that it's clear that our girls aren't coming back anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like is very interesting. Her and Kiana James, if they did something more with Kiana James, I feel like would be very interesting. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Chikara. Next question.
So the event to watch in 2023.
Probably the obvious is to say Wrestle Kingdom, but then it's also arguable that you want to watch. You really want to see what's going to go on with WrestleMania because they have so much, like they're putting so much effort. Like I haven't seen this much pre-planning for a WrestleMania in years. So part of me wants to say WrestleMania, but then it's just like they're doing it differently with Wrestle Kingdom this year. Like I just realized it wasn't back-to-back 2 nights.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that till last night, and I was just like, what are they doing? No, because that leaves so much more suspension for us till the next show. I was like, wait, what are they doing? So that one I'm so conflicted in, but I'm just going to go ahead and say Wrestle Kingdom for now, just because they're throwing us a lot of curveballs over there.
Mm.
They're not really, they're telling us without telling us that something's going to happen that's crazy. Whereas with WWE, it's just like, hey, buy our tickets because this is happening. This is happening. This is happening. This is like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like they're going to blow us out the water with Wrestle Kingdom. So I'm going to stand on that point. But what do you think?
So I think that, I'm going to go with WrestleMania. WrestleMania 39 is going to be the biggest event of the year. Because in addition to being the largest event of the largest wrestling company in the world, it's going to be the rebuttal to Wrestle Kingdom 17. So if Wrestle Kingdom is setting the tone, that means that WWE has to top that. And if there's anybody that can top New Japan, it's WWE. So I'm going to have my eye on WrestleMania 20. WrestleMania 39. Oh, Jesus. I went back 20 years. But so going from that, what is the promotion to watch? You're going to be interested in my answer, but I want to hear your answer first.
Wrestle Kingdom might actually make me steadily watch New Japan. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that. You better not say no Impact because I'm very upset.
I'm not going to say Impact. Not going to say Impact.
Answer.
Funny thing is, when I was originally trying to figure out my promotion of the year, Impact was the first choice, but it's not.
Why was it on? Wait, backtrack. I need an explanation, sir.
Well, I feel like Impact has really good stories, and they had a very, very underrated tag team division, a very, very underrated women's division. They have a lot of good main event players. And they have a good mix of veterans and young guys. And I love Josh Alexander. That was one of the reasons why I was going to say Impact, but I'm not going to say it. I'm going to say House of Glory.
Okay, I can't be mad at that, but go on.
The reason why I'm saying that is because I've been keeping my eye. First of all, shout out to Sir Wilkins. He's doing a great job over there as like a commentator, as a personality.
That's cool.
But I've been watching it, and I'm like, wait a minute. Production value is getting a lot better. They're really suiting up that arena. They have merchandise. Yeah, the merch is a lot better. They got good stories. House of Glory has a good relationship with everybody. Everybody, which means that they can get anybody in there. And they can use that to start gaining leverage in the world of wrestling. And I feel like they already are a very respected name. Shout outs to Amazing Red, who has done an amazing job. Brian XL, who's done an amazing job with facilitating that space. And I just think that we're going to see the rise of House of Glory in 2023. And I'm very, very excited about that because it's Black owned, Black operated, And there have been so many talents that have gone through that spot, Private Party.
Didn't LAX go there before?
Yeah, LAX, like Santana and Ortiz. Rest in peace, Matt Travis, my brother. But I just think that House of Glory is going to be on the rise this year. So that's my promotion.
No, that's fair. That's fair because, like, shit, last year I went to a House of Glory show, and that was, like, my first time I went to a House of Glory show. I was blown away because, like, I don't attend indie shows, so that was technically my first, like, I guess, indie level show.
Right.
And, like, bro, it felt like I walked into a club. On God, there was, like, bad bitches to the left and, like, tight-ass outfits in a bar. They had, like, actual good food. They had, like, top-shelf liquor over there. I was like, wow. You go and see a disco ball when you look up.
Because that's Amazura. That's Amazura in New York. Yeah, that's Amazura. But like, it used to be called Amazura. Now it's called the NYC Arena. But like, if you grew up in New York and you've gone to parties, you know about Amazura. So I'm not even gonna get into that.
Got it. This shit threw me off in a pleasant way. I was like, this is lit. Like, what? If they had a show, I would show up like every week. Like, this shit just feels like a vibe.
Right.
But totally, yeah. Like, it makes me kind of wish that they were on that level, that they were like a fourth competitor between the three brands, because like looks wise, they kind of got it. Like they this kind of just need like a brand deal at this point.
Right. Or a TV deal, but we'll see what happens. But
yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry.
I think that concludes our show. So thank you guys so much for watching. 2022 was a hell of a year, and we're looking forward to an eventful 2023, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.